Well, we always do. We've been consistently doing it. We've made a point of it.
Yeah.
We're joined tonight by a special guest from, I don't know, somewhere foreign.
Other lands.
Yeah, some other land. It doesn't matter.
But he doesn't have a Mustang.
His name's Alex, so he's joining us. We have Howie, we have John, we have Jay, and our program, as usual, is sponsored by DJ Event Planner. DJ Event Planner, all that information can be found in the description of this video, www.djeventplanner.com. And I'm getting that out of the way now because that's going to be part of the show. That can't be edited out. I'm talking about our sponsor.
Right.
But I was really bummed out because when I stood in for the Hanging Out with Howie show, it finally got posted.
I noticed that. They cut out about 5 minutes.
They cut out my intro. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was magic.
Where I did my Howie impersonation.
Oh, man.
Hello. And welcome to Hanging Out with Howie. See, you're not mad. You're smiling.
I can't even tell if that was Howie or you, Brian.
It's a lie or is it memorized?
Why would I be mad? The ladies,
I don't know, but I think that's why they cut it. It was really good.
Just love my voice. That's why they tune in.
Beautiful. It's like a nightingale, I believe.
It's smooth.
It's like a song in the night on a dark alley in South Jersey.
In Newark.
So what we do at the top of every show is we do a little something called drum roll.
Hold on, we got music for this.
Yeah,
we got budgets now.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Hold on.
I heard it for a second.
I see your head moving, but I don't hear sound.
I heard it for a second. Boston John's Record Roundup, where we turn our audience onto an album that we just think they might dig. If they don't know it, maybe they should check it out. John, what do you got for us this week?
Well, with the news of current events, I pulled one out of the archives for today to celebrate the life and works of Mr. Gary Rosington. So I have the Rosington Collins Band.
Nice.
Directly connected to Leonard Skinner. I'm sure we can have a little bit of a discussion about his contributions to the band. Sadly, passed away this weekend.
He was another one of those Laurel Canyon guys that played with everybody.
Yeah, he was the last surviving member of Skynyrd.
Mm-hmm.
They're all together once again.
From the first album.
From the first album. So this was 1980, which was 3 years after the crash. I think he had stepped away from the band for a little while. And it was Gary Rosington and, what was it? Alan Collins, yes.
Yeah. But if you look closely, you'll see it's pretty much everyone else from Skinner, too. I think Billy Powell plays on it. The bass player plays on it. I don't think Artemis Pyle plays on it. He might, but I don't know.
Was that a one-off project?
It was. I mean, the one track was Don't Misunderstand Me. That's the only one I know. That got huge radio play. I don't think there was another top single. I mean, it kind of got away from the Southern sound that Skinner had. It was more pop radio-ish.
I liked it.
It had a good vibe. So my plan this week was to get the turntable hooked up again and give this a spin again from cover to cover just to revisit it.
Excellent.
They brought the band back to do a thing. There's a show every year that Charlie Daniels used to do called the Tennessee Jam.
Mm-hmm.
And he would bring a lot of bands in. And I think it was only a few years after that album, like 83, 84, he brought all the members of Skynyrd out to do Freebird without vocals. And they just had a spotlight and a mic stand. And it was only about a year or two after that Ronnie Van Zant's little brother, Johnny, approached the band, or they approached him, and they decided, I think we can make a go of this. And I'll do the vocal line. He was my brother, blah, 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 blah. Because the next Skynyrd incarnation we saw was under 10 years from the accident. I think it was 86, 87.
Mm-hmm.
Skynyrd came back out. So that was really a Skynyrd light / one-off, Brian. But it was a great track. That Don't Misunderstand Me, I love that song.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The one that really got away from the whole vibe of what Skynyrd was probably that Van Zant album with I'm a Fighter on it. That one just sounded nothing at all like what the,
Yeah.
But I thought that, because I always associate like Rosington Collins band with Head East. I mean, to me, it's, I don't know. I like those never been any reason. And Don't Misunderstand Me sound like they should be on the same album to me. I don't know why.
Yeah. No, I get that.
It's the vibe. It's the evolution of the band, I guess. And maybe that would have been more of a natural evolution if
I bet everybody was writing their own stuff. It probably had to go through the Skinner filter. It's like, yeah, that doesn't sound enough like us. It can't get on this record.
I think Ronnie really ran that band. It might just be what happens when the lead singer who runs it and writes all the lyrics steps away. What happens to the band? I mean, look at somebody like Genesis.
I was just thinking Genesis.
Yeah, how much control Peter Gabriel had over the band, and then when he steps away, that first Genesis Away album is really good, but I don't think it sounds a lot like Lamb Lies Down or that kind of vibe. So, look at Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. The difference between the David Lee Roth time,
very different.
Then Sammy comes in, still Van Halen, but really a much different Van Halen.
Less of a yin and yang, which you can see, you can hear. I will tell you, John, that I'm very disappointed that you haven't talked about your Foghat Live album. I know what that is. I can see it.
That's when the Wheel of Doom comes back around and it becomes a category. We'll be ready.
And you need to hear 20 minutes of Slow Ride. That one's going to come up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Side 1, Slow Ride.
Yeah.
Bathroom song.
Side
Alex,
2.
did you come prepared?
I did. So, as it's an international show, I thought I'd bring you something from across the pond.
Nice.
I like that.
One of my personal favourites, Portishead.
Ah.
Ooh, very nice.
Going chillish.
This was... camera's moving. So, Portishead came out in 1994, known as bringing the genre of trip-hop to the mainstream. Actually won the Mercury Music Prize in 1995. It's an album that is bizarre. If you listen to it, the way it's created, it's hopefully something that you haven't really heard before. It has to be experienced. My personal favourite track is Wandering Star, which is the last track on side 1. And they actually recorded their first tracks, the first recordings in a little artist that was famous for Buffalo Stance in Nina Cherry's kitchen when they first started out. And they're named after, Portishead is a town in Devon, which is right in the south of England. Okay. And at one point, there were no signs leading to Portishead because all the fans were basically unbolting them from the roadside.
Just doing the signs.
How clever marketing. My next band's going to be called Stop.
Portishead. There were no signs to Portishead. But yeah, check it out. I think, it's...
What was the album title?
Dummy.
That's what I thought I saw there, Dummy.
Mm-hmm.
But if I said dummy and I was wrong, I would have sounded like a dummy. So that's why I asked you like I did.
There's only 6 tracks. 10 tracks altogether, 5 on each side. So, easy listening, not too harsh. But if you've been out gigging, and you're a little bit hyped up, this is an excellent electro, trip hop style
right on.
Album to chill out to before you go to bed.
Right on. Well, thank you. Thank you, sir. Howie, you're all excited because you have something picked out.
Oh, I am excited. Actually, believe it or not, Lori turned me on to this. I don't know where she heard it, if she heard it on the radio or not, but it's from 2016 and it's by Thundercat. And the name of the album is called Drunk.
Yeah.
And the song that I really like is Show You the Way. It's Thundercat. I can't remember the guy's real name, but he's a bass player. He's a 2-time Grammy Award winner, producer, on and on like that. But
amazing.
He is. He's done everything from thrash metal to Snoop Dogg and produced a boatload of people. What's really cool that got me on this song, Show You the Way, is it's featuring Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins.
Oh, there's
and
that
it's a
combo.
Great funky bass beat to it. It just had me right from the beginning.
Nice.
The yacht rock duo.
But you can't get it anywhere except from him. He's one of those that said, screw the labels, I'm taking all the money. You can't get it on Amazon or iTunes. You gotta. So I'm waiting for it to come.
Right on.
Good for him.
Well, check out Thundercat.
Flea is a huge fan of his. When they talk to Flea about Red Hot Chili Peppers, when they're like, because he's such a prolific bass player, so of course you're going to ask him who he thinks great bass players are. And for modern guys, he's a huge Thundercat fan.
Yeah,
he's a Jocko fan too.
He's only 38 years old.
Yeah, no, he's a relatively young guy.
Got a lot of accomplishments.
Oh yeah, no, he's that like old school talent and just moving forward.
It's so funny. We say only 38, and then you look back and you think about, how old were the Beatles when they were doing that stuff,
No, but I mean, to have two Grammys.
But today, in today's world, 38 is relatively young, especially since we're all old farts with gray hair.
I guess there was a point where we all thought 38 was old too.
Right.
I'm
thinking about when the Divinals I Touch Myself came out.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, oh my God, I think she's in her like 30s. I'm like, oh my God, gross.
Yeah, I remember that.
I can't look at her like she's hot.
Wow,
she's old.
She's not hot, she's old.
Yeah.
How fast that changed, huh?
Yeah.
Boy, that 75-year-old Candice Bergen's looking pretty fetching these days.
Stunningly. Yeah.
I'll tell you.
What do you got for
us? On her.
Jay, what do you got for us?
Well, I had to go down the same road that John did. I had the fortune of doing a little tribute set on Sunday. And I thought, what was the first? Because when I got into high school, I remember kids saying, what song is it you want to hear? And I didn't know what that expression was. I hadn't, as we know, I didn't have older brothers and sisters. I hadn't gotten the newer stuff in. I was still Billy Joel and Elton John. And I'm like, why do people keep saying what songs you want to hear? And my good friend Rip said, Skynyrd, Freebird. So I went to Belmont Music and bought the only Skynyrd album they had in the store, which was Pronounced, which is their first album. And believe it or not, showing the difference between now and 1973, Pronounced has 8 songs for an entire runtime of 43 minutes and 3 seconds. And one of them is Freebird.
And that lasts
9 minutes and 8 seconds. But here's the funniest thing about it. Here's the track list real quick. Tuesday's Gone, Things Going On, Simple Man, I Ain't the One, Freebird, Mississippi Kid, Gimme 3 Steps, Poison Whiskey. Tuesday's Gone, Simple Man, and Freebird account for more than half of the time on the album.
Of course.
Tuesday's Gone is 7.5. Simple Man is 6 minutes and Freebird is 9 minutes. Yeah. But they're all bangers. They're all great tracks. But can you imagine in 1973 how foreign that had to be to have a band go, here's our album. Where's the 2 minute and 11-second song?
Right.
We don't have one.
Yeah.
I mean, they all got cut. If you want to laugh, check out the radio edit of Freebird sometime. I think it's like 4 minutes.
Right.
And it's just
they fade out when the guitar kicks in.
Got it. Yeah. Here you go. Yeah, pretend you could hear the solo.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were talking the other night how strong Southern rock was. And now, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's a legacy thing. You could call Blackberry Smoke a Southern rock band, but I don't think they're really Southern rock. I think they're more of a Southern funk almost. There really aren't any Southern rock bands. They're all, ZZ Top and Marshall Tucker, Allman
38
Brothers.
Special. Yeah.
38 Special. Oddly enough, 38 Special. Yeah, but I mean, they're either gone.
Yeah.
All the original members of Molly are dead. All the original members of Skynyrd are dead. Mm-hmm. Most of the members of Tucker are gone.
Well,
they're dead.
I mean, they were kind of I want to say staple, much like, for yacht rock, it's Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins. I think for the roots rock format, it's Lynyrd Skynyrd. And maybe Aerosmith. Those are the two things that you kind of try to, piece music around. And there's still stuff like that. And a lot of that type of music today is in country. I mean, you hear a lot in country rock.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With Florida Georgia Line and things like that. I mean,
right.
The evolution of or de-evolution of, however you want to look at it.
But they look at it as country. That's the weird thing.
But what's interesting is I don't think Skynyrd looked at themselves as hillbilly Southern rockers. I think Skinner looked at themselves as like progressive rockers with these long epic tracks.
Yeah, I would kind of go with that. I know they thought of themselves as a rock band.
Right, but progressive rock. I mean, I think they had a lot of influence from, Yes, and things like that, where the tracks weren't necessarily made for radio. They were just doing these epically long tracks.
Well, right? Hey, Stairway's a hit. Why can't we make a 7-minute epic?
Well, right. It's funny you say that. I played the Outlaws' Greengrass and High Tides, which is about 8 minutes long, and that's 2 years after Skinner's Freebird comes out.
Yep.
But the other thing that I think one of the threads that weaves itself through a lot of the Southern rock bands is the band Cream. And if you look at Cream's discography, they were epically long songs too. And I wouldn't call Cream progressive per se.
No.
But there's an argument to be made that they were kind of dabbling in that a little bit.
Well, yeah, that was what was happening at the time.
But, as a 3-piece, Skinner had 3 guitar players who were all very good players. You look at a Cream with one guy, and it's like, wait, you're pulling off White Room with 3 people? You're pulling off Ulysses with 3 people? Something to be said for that. And I think, they did Crossroads on their live album. Skinner did. So I think there was that too.
You mentioned Greengrass and High Tides Forever. They had 3 lead guitar players on that song.
Same thing. At one point, the Outlaws had 2 drummers, a bass player, and 3 guitar players. They were 6-piece band.
That particular song, they had 3 lead guitar players.
That's it. Play until your hand cramps up and then just nod it off.
You go.
Oh my gosh. I saw them live like 4 or 5 times. They're just
I did too. Yeah. Amazing. I saw them in 80 on their Ghost Rider tour, and they played that song for 35 minutes.
I'll bet they did.
And every guitar player in the band took a solo and wailed, and they were all good players.
I heard them last year, and I say heard them because I was at whatever that festival was called that I played at.
Rockville?
Welcome to Rockville in Florida.
Yep.
And we closed down when Skinner started. And I left the Daytona 500 Speedway, got in my car, drove out of the parking lot, drove to the Outback Steakhouse, and as I was leaving my car, I could hear the beginning of Freebird.
Wow.
And I went inside and I ordered a
carburetor
ribeye with potato delivered. I ate it. It was good. I went back to the car and they were still playing frickin' Freebird.
Yeah.
But it was good. I sat there and listened to it for a minute and I was like, this is pretty cool. In fact, when I got back to my hotel, they were still playing Freebird.
Yep.
It never ended.
And you pulled up the covers and thought, if only Prince could have done a redo of this, what would it have sounded like? And off you went to that La La Land sleep.
Oh man, you're catching my thunder here.
Get in tomorrow morning, they're still playing Freebird. Like, guys, wrap it up.
It sounded great though.
That'd be a good video. It'd be a good comedy video. Like you're at the show and they're playing it. You leave. You're at the hotel. You go to the window. You hear Freebird. You get up the next morning. You're having coffee.
It's Freebird.
That's Freebird. Like every time you walk out of a building to your car, you just hear Freebird. You get on the plane,
dude.
You fly back home. You get off the plane. You're getting out of the airport, and you're like, "Oh shit, are they still playing?"
Yeah. Well, you've ever been to Daytona 500, the Speedway? It's like everything's right there around it. So you're gonna hear it no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And I kept everywhere I went, I was still hearing it. But anyway. So I'm going to talk about, and I have a question for you, Jay, and I have a puzzle for you to solve. John, Howie, maybe you can participate in this, but I'll worry about that after I do my pick.
John,
I have in front of me one of the greatest albums of all time. One of the greatest albums of all time, with one of the greatest songwriters of all time, and one of the greatest lyricists of all time, one of the greatest frontmen of all time. In my hand, I have An Excess Kick.
No one in the group thought that.
But am I wrong?
I had 10 albums in my head. No, I think it's a great album.
But I'm not wrong, though.
Great album.
That's why I picked it.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say you were wrong.
It's so
good. But it didn't come to my head.
But it's not on anybody's list, but it's so good.
It's a great album.
Overlooked, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's a great album. And he's a great lyricist.
He is a fantastic
amazing friend. Mm-hmm. You ever see the videos of him from the not us, but something at Wembley? Dude, he commands like Freddie Mercury. He had it in his eyes. He had the crowd in his eyes.
He just knew how to control a crowd.
Oh, absolutely. All day long. Yeah, 100%.
So Andrew Ferris was the guy who wrote most of the stuff. And he's the chubby guy in the band. And he has two brothers who are in the band as well. Yep. I couldn't tell you their names if you put a gun to my head, but their last name's Ferris. But Andrew Ferris wrote the stuff. He'd write the music. Then he would present it to Michael, and Michael would write lyrics. Yep. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
And everybody else kind of fell into place. But the core of the band was Andrew and Michael Hutchins.
Yeah, they all cashed their checks and they were happy.
And the way they did some of this stuff is so incredibly interesting. You know the song Never Tear Us Apart, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It never occurred to me what that was until Andrew Ferris pointed it out to me in some Zoom interview I was watching of him with somebody else. That's like a piano blues song. And instead of doing the piano, they changed the strings.
Oh, yeah.
Blueberry Hill kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Never occurred to me that's what it was.
Nope.
But when I heard it for the first time, I'd never heard anything like that. But I had heard a lot of things like that, but just not presented in that way. He made it his own. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, this album right here, I mean, if you're looking for an NXS album, Listen Like Thieves is really good. This is them at their peak. I even liked X. A lot of people didn't, but this is the album to check out. It is so good. There's not a bad song on it. There's tons of hits on it. If the music videos are fun, yeah, NXS Kick, that's my pick.
I walked home from WBCN at 6 a.m. after working overnight and had a Walkman and remember hearing One Thing by NXS.
Shabu Shaba, I think that was one.
Maybe the first time and just being blown away. Like, what is this?
My brother, who I've talked about in great length, is very much a rock and roller. I mean, my brother, you know, he don't mess around. He's a Nugent guy. He's a Skinner guy. He's that guy. I remember when he was in the military, he was crazy about NXS because he heard the One Thing as well, and he thought that was really good.
It's an amazing gateway song.
Yes,
because then when you get into their other stuff, you see the maturity of Kicks.
Yeah.
See, I love Don't Change. I think Don't Change is a great song.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, this was the mountaintop. I mean,
that was their peak.
Yeah, College Radio Days. I think we played every single song off that record.
Unfortunately, there was nowhere to go after this, and their career reflected it. Although I did see them for X, and X was really good, and they did stuff off of X that was good. They did stuff off of this that was good.
Which one's got Suicide Blonde? Is that Kicks or that's X? Okay.
X also has Disappear on it, which is really good.
Okay.
And Shine Like It Does, and I can't remember off the top of my head.
I just didn't like when they did that reality show to pick a new lead singer. It was the three Ferris brothers,
Rockstar NXS.
Yeah, and they auditioned people, and they finally found a guy, and he sounded good, but I think he only lasted for like a tour or a half a tour. It just was, it was the beginning of the end of music because it was like, hey, there's a guy doing karaoke on YouTube. You should hire him for Journey. And 20 years later, here you are.
Yeah. If you ever watch an interview with Andrew, he just seems like the sweetest guy, and he was just trying something. There was no malice there, I don't think. But I
don't think there was. I just thought it was really weird.
In hindsight, I think it would have been really cool. And I'm just hypothetically throwing this out there. Like, what if the Ferris brothers decided to work with a new artist and not even call themselves NXS anymore, but maybe they found some chick named Lady Gaga that they worked with?
Well, didn't they have
how cool would that
for a little bit? I think they did. I thought they did have a woman that came in and sang with an NXS at one point.
But not a woman, like an exceptional human being, like Michael Hutchins was. I mean...
that's tough to find. If you're going to write that good, if you can write that well, I agree with you. It would seem like, you know what? Let's not try to get another one of these. Let's keep writing the way we always did. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a prolific songwriter, but it seems to me if you could write something once, you might have that in you again.
I think Andrew Ferris is
you may have another ability to write.
He's a superhuman with that kind of stuff.
Right. But that's what I've always loved about AC/DC. AC/DC sounds in 2023 like they did in 1980. But that's what I want. I don't want them to grow and mature and become a jazz fusion Spinal Tap, joke. So if you've got great songs and you do great music, you almost want those bands to stay in that. I remember when Jungle Land came out with Simple Minds, and I was like, oh my God, every song in this album, Ghost Dance and, Jungle, they were all amazing. And I'm like, just keep doing this, guys. Don't start getting confused. Don't drive a Ferrari. Don't get lost. Just
stay in your lane.
Do what you're doing, and I'll buy everything you put out. But again, like you say, Brian, they go down these other roads and go, hey, let's do this. It's like, no, that's what a solo album is for. Do your solo project that sounds like jazz fusion in front of a puppet show.
But call it something else.
Do what you do well. Another Spinal Tap reference.
Yeah.
where they opened for a puppet show.
There are just certain things that go together, and Andrew Ferris and Michael Hutchence went together.
Oh yeah,
those two.
Different in Tilbrook from Squeeze. Different in Tilbrook from Squeeze are another one of those couples where
I would argue that
together.
I would argue that Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth had the same chemistry.
I would agree.
With the yin and the yang. And you mentioned Sammy Hagar later on. I don't think there was yin and yang with that.
No, I think it was Sammy's songs with Eddie's take.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sammy had a great solo career. Plus, Sammy was first with Ronnie Montrose.
Oh, Sammy didn't need Van Halen.
No. Sammy was playing the same arenas that Van Halen was playing.
Was relevant and doing just fine without
3-lock box. He put out 3-lock box.
Your Love Is Driving Me Crazy. I Can't Drive 55. Fall in Love Again. Heavy Metal. All that stuff.
Dave wasn't a singer. He had swag. And so they're like, well, we don't need another swag. We need a singer.
No. Listen to Eat 'Em and Smile. It's all the guys playing who are amazing. Billy Sheehan, Greg Bissonette on drums, who's a famous jazz drummer, and Steve Vai. And then you have Dave kind of just being Dave. And it's like, you almost wish there was a parent there that could have said, hey, Dave,
that's what I'm talking about. You need that back and forth. What do you think Fleetwood Mac's so good?
Yeah.
Like everything from, the self-titled album on was so good.
Well, but
nobody got along and they were fighting with each other.
Right. But Fleetwood Mac went through such different, you listen to the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
And then you come up to Rumors and you can't even convince people it's the same damn band.
Right.
Like, wait, no, that's not the same band. I'm like, no, this is the same band.
Yeah.
Well, Fleetwood Mac with Peter Green wasn't big enough on a global stage for them to worry about changing their names. And Excess, on the other hand, I feel like was. So, I don't know. If they would have just found somebody and called themselves something else, I don't know, anything else. And then, later on down the road, we were doing a shit like this. Hey, do you know that band Albatross is actually in Excess without Michael Hutchence? Really? I had no idea. Yeah. That's how it should have been. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, and like John's album about, the Rosington Collins Project.
Right.
I believe it's all the Skinner guys, but they weren't Skinnered anymore, but they wanted to do something. And it's like, hey, we're going to do this thing. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Same that Dale Rosington, his wife, she was the vocalist, did a lot of the background vocals with Skinner, along with Casey Gaines, Steve Gaines' sister, who got killed in a plane crash. I mean, once in a while, I like it when bands have the balls to go out there and say, hey, let's do this thing under another name and see what happens.
Yeah. Or share numbers like you say.
Just call it like, the band or the rock band and just see.
Right.
Just see what you can, see what traction. Yeah. Sadly, because of money today and the internet and the way everything works, I don't know if you can. I mean, John, you probably know this, Dr. J and the Jones or Jones. I mean, they played the Paradise a bunch of times. It was Aerosmith. They would come in and play under the name Dr. J and the Jones just to try to see if they could get, new material, how it would go over. And they'd get 300 or 400 people. But they knew the 300 or 400 people that showed up were genuinely there for music. So they weren't there to screw around. Because there's a point where your name carries so much cachet that you're not going to get the truth. We talked about your opinion with the vice president of my company, Brian. There's a point where you're so big, you're not going to get the truth out of people.
Yeah.
You're going to get them to just kiss your butt like, oh, rock star, versus, hey, man, this isn't as good as you've done before.
Well, it's less an opinion, is more of a impression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you get blinded by what you see. If you know if I played you a Stone song that you had never heard and you went like, it's okay. And I said, it's the Stones. You're different. You wouldn't really go, oh, no way, really? Because, now that I think about it, it's really good. Because you're
right. Exactly.
You're shooting a shotgun off on a carburetor as a leveler. So it's different. But you get that sense of when you take away the act.
Yeah.
Look at today, Howie. I could play the New York Dolls Personality Crisis for 1,000 people who've never heard of the Dolls. But the second they found out they were this influential drag-dressed band from the 70s who pretty much started punk, they'd jump on it and be like, oh, no, I knew that was cool. Yeah, no, you didn't. You thought it was noise. What about Velvet Underground? There's a band of like insanely talented players playing under the guise of art, but they became famous really more for Andy Warhol, I think, than even the music.
These are the T-shirts the Kardashians are wearing that they have no idea who the bands are.
Yeah, that famous album with the banana on it, that Andy Warhol did. But once they got rid of Nico, everything was written, by Lou Reed, and he broke out on his own, and the rest is history. He was a genius.
Oh no, absolutely. But that's the thing. It's you almost think that the imagery holds back the talent sometimes.
I got one.
He also played with Kale too. So I mean, geez, those two together. Come on.
Oh yeah.
How can you go wrong?
So
JJ. Go ahead, John.
No, I was just going to say before we get into the meat potatoes of tonight's show, I had a question for Jay and everyone, I guess. It's been driving me nuts for a couple days.
John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. I'm telling you.
You know what? If it is, that's what it is. I had, I woke up because I had a disturbing dream the other day, and I was hearing a song in my dream, and the song in my dream was music that I knew to nonsense lyrics. And I woke up not knowing what the song is, and I'm trying to figure out what the song is that I heard. And I don't know, Jay, what do you call that part of the song towards the end that just epically goes on forever, like Freebird? What is that part of the song?
For using Freebird as the example, I would call that the outro solo.
Yeah.
Well, because there was a solo going on there. You're right.
Yeah.
Like the Isley Brothers did it with Who's That Lady? Where
they just go, they've done the verse, the chorus, the verse, the bridge, the chorus.
And then this thing.
Yeah, that I always
ad-lib to fade, I think.
Yeah, I just outro to end or something.
But it goes on forever, though.
It can.
Yeah.
Now, there's
Rubber Band Man. I mean, there's like 4 minutes of just the same beat. It's like Spinners. Did no one tell you to stop? I get the feeling the producer left. Went to the bathroom, got it.
It's like going to Olive Garden.
And they're still back there like,
tell us when to stop.
Bump, 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 bump. It's like, all of a sudden, it's 6:74. They're like, or 6:53. It's like, stop. Okay, good. We're done.
So the song by Kiss that I can think of that's kind of got the same progression is and I know Kiss ripped it off from whatever song is in my head, is God Gave Rock and Roll to You.
Argent. The original song is by the band Argent.
That's the original.
But
Argent is the keyboard player from the Zombies. Like,
no, I know who Argent
is. The season.
But what song is like that?
Dun, 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 dun. There's a bunch.
It's more about the dun dun dun, and then it goes into a thing. And I think what I'm thinking,
and then it goes into that dun 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 dun, that thing. Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? White Punks on Dope a little bit by the Tubes.
Oh yeah.
It does, because they've got that weird break there.
I used to play that.
It's almost in the vein of
it's the same tempo. It's a good song, huh?
It's almost in the vein of McCartney's "Maybe I'm Amazed." When he goes to the bridge on that.
Dun. dun 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 dun. Yeah.
Is this the last one?
The hell is the song?
We got more. It's going more.
Man, that's a good question.
Popular.
Good question.
Anyway, something to think about. You can get back to me later on it.
Yeah, put it in the comments, people.
But I can't figure out what the hell the song is. I'm thinking.
Please help.
I know it is not Wang Dang Sweet Poontang by Ted Nugent.
No.
That I know.
But it's got that maybe I'm amazed kind of production.
There's a bunch that have, but even the like dun 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 dun, that, you know,
dun dun dun.
But if you reverse that, you have dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
So and don't kid yourself. This isn't a new phenomenon that they do today where they go, find me the number 5 Billboard chart song and the key and the progression, like 145, 135, whatever. And let's change the key, change the tempo, and write a pop song.
Yeah.
Because it'll be popular.
They've always done that.
But people admitted, and it wasn't a big deal to say, yeah, man, it went and saw, Paul McCartney at the Bottom Up and went home and I wrote this song. And it's like, well, obviously you were influenced by what he was doing. Mm-hmm. I mean,
everyone's influenced by what they do.
Look at ELO's work. Look at
that was
work. I mean,
those of you who don't know, that was all Beatles.
Right. That's the thing. It was very Beatles, but it wasn't like they came in the studio with him and said, hey, move over. Let me show you this guitar riff. George Harrison didn't sit next to him. Ringo didn't play the drums, but it was obvious that they were like, man, I love the way they did this. Let's try doing it this way.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
The 80s was filled with rock that just,
the 70s was filled with rock like that.
I love Whitesnake, but let's face it, Whitesnake took Led Zeppelin to town. And the worst was when Jimmy Page and David Coverdale did the Firm project.
Oh, I love that.
But you know who hated it? Robert Plant.
So
he's like, God almighty, stop ripping me off.
Radioactive and Satisfaction Guaranteed are really good songs. I got that album.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Still of the Night, John, come on. I mean, that's like Cashmere all day long.
That's a lot of borrowing going on there.
That's so a stretch.
Between that and Deep Purple, they took a lot of stuff.
Listen to Cashmere sometime with the screams and everything. And they're like, and then listen to Still of the Night with the screams, which I love both songs. But then they do that.
Yeah, let's play a guitar with a bow. No one's done that before.
I mean, I'm sure influenced. Okay, maybe I need to listen to it again. But
if you listen to it with that context, I think you'll see it as, oh, wait a second.
Right. Yeah,
I did that.
This is more than an homage. Yeah, this is a little heavier.
You did. Yeah. And I'm
like, what are you talking about? They're not influenced. That's not Beatles. Like, you listen again, you're like, dude, why did you do that to me?
Yeah, no.
All I can hear is I'm a walrus every time I listen to Telephone.
Exactly, 100%. But I think that's okay. I don't have a problem with an artist taking an influence from another artist. I think the greatest form of flattery is, copying. But I also think that when it comes to art, I can't remember who said the famous quote, half of art is stealing.
Well, okay. Look, and this is interesting you bring this up. I didn't have this as a show topic, but it's been on my mind for days. And that is the artistic development as what we do as DJs. And when I think back to when I first started doing what I do, I was emulating everyone else.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I was saying the same things everyone else was saying.
Yep.
And sometimes I would find something in their kind of spoken script that I didn't like or I felt like could be improved, and I'd make a change. And eventually you come into your own on this stuff.
Did you copy the cadence? I found I did that a lot. I would watch other DJs speak and I would copy the cadence, and I would try to get that, I would try to hit things the way they did. And then earlier, as John knows, and you probably all know what the post is. If not, it's really, when a track starts in the first beat, but it's when you're not supposed to be talking over vocal. Right. And in radio, the big thing was you were skilled. And if you listen to a really good radio jock, they're speaking right to the second of the
right.
And it's called hitting the post. So I remember utilizing that when I got into mobile DJ in the 90s as, if I'm going to talk, I have to talk over this little intro. Mm-hmm. And then it became apparent I really didn't need to, but I always thought it was a good talent to have.
Yeah,
I switch all the time.
And it's better for
clarity.
I try
to come in and speak when I can get away with not hitting a post.
Well, I remember doing that at the club a lot. because I had drink specials to announce and things. So I would pick like the 12-inch version of a song, one that just off the top of my head, the one that I had a lot of fun with was Sheila E.'s Glamorous Life, because I could get a lot of stuff in. And it wasn't before the vocals, it was before it hit on the one for what was the radio edit of the song. So like the 12-inch intro, and then I would end it by the time the 12-inch intro was over on, and then when the music actually kicks in that you hear on the single, that's when I would just shut up. But yeah, you're right.
There's a track called Wherever I May Roam by Metallica.
Yes.
And we had a DJ in the club who had taken Jimmy Swaggart. He had taken a sound bite of Jimmy Swaggart.
Oh, boy.
And every time he would play Wherever I May Roam, he would get to that break and he would hit play on the other deck and you would hear no sex before marriage. And literally to the second you hear like, that's
in a Front 242 song.
Maybe that's where he got it from.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Swaggart. He got it from a Front 242 song.
Okay.
Or is it Nitzer Ebb?
I didn't know where the origin was. But he
no sex until marriage. Industrial track.
Right, but he would just say no sex before marriage. It was a very short clip.
The hell's the name of that song?
And to his defense, he never had sex with that prostitute. He just watched.
That's what I heard.
I think it's Front 242.
I think there was a mirror on the ceiling in that one. I think that's
something like that.
Yeah. He put a sticker on the back of his car. That's
he had
why
Gideon's Bible in one hand and his
riding crop in the other. Yeah. Well, it's hard. You know what? If you don't know, I don't want to get too personal or give too much personal about my relationship with my beautiful wife, but it's very difficult to speak with a ball gag in your mouth. Just try to remember that. So, if he couldn't get the words out, I understand where that pain comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but I was always amazed. I'm like, wait a second, you can play with it this way? Because I don't remember radio guys. They would do stupid stuff. They'd make some like stupid noise, but they were never creative about taking a break and filling it because it was absolute dead air. And I'm like, oh, this
soundbite out of a movie or off something. Pop culture, where's the beef? Whatever, whatever you had.
If it fit, run with it. Yeah.
I was just thinking about, even a band. You have when you join a band, what do? You play cover songs, typically. Yep. I mean, especially if it's your first band, and you do weddings and bars, whatever, and you play cover songs.
Yep.
And you can get really good as a musician, like really good playing cover songs. Beatles did it. Yep. Beatles were playing everybody's stuff. If you ever watch the documentary Get Back,
a
lot of that documentary is them just jamming, just impromptu jams on pop songs that they didn't write.
Like, why the first Stones album is a cover album.
Well, they were a blues cover band. Yeah,
right. Yeah, it was
exactly
just doing covers.
You're right.
I've mentioned this before, and I hate repeating myself, but I remember.
Not me.
I think it was not you. I remember when Dave Chappelle was accepting, was it the Mark Twain Prize? He was talking about artist development, and he was saying how he remembers reading an interview with Miles Davis. And Miles Davis said, one of the coolest things is when you finally start playing like yourself. What does that mean? He says, well, you emulate everybody else. You go to music teacher, you all play the same songs, playing the same way. Then you emulate other players, and then you emulate this other player and take from here and take from there. And eventually you come into your own. And when that happens, that's really cool. And I think it's very much the same thing with what we do.
I think it's that genius level. And I think it's true with DJs too, because you have to copy. You cannot possibly just be born in a bubble.
No, the art form exists.
And start messing around. I played trumpet in grammar grades and middle school. And I remember watching Dizzy Gillespie blow his cheeks up. And I came into Mr. O'Halloran and I said, hey, I saw Dizzy Gillespie play on PBS last night. And he blew his cheeks up. And you say that we're not supposed to do that. And to his credit, Mr. O'Halloran just looked at me. I was probably in the 7th grade. And he goes, Jay, when you're as good as Dizzy Gillespie, you can do whatever you want. And it was at that moment you kind of realize, oh, this guy started doing what I did. He had to learn the same notes I learned.
Mm-hmm.
Every guitar player knows what a C chord and a D chord and a G chord and an E chord and an A chord is. But the talent isn't in knowing how to play the chord. The talent is in what you do with it. It's
right.
I make the chef analogy all the time because it's very prevalent in music, whether DJ or musician. The same ingredients, the same kitchen, the same equipment. You can't expect a world-class chef's dish to taste the same as mine if all things are equal. It's the talent. It's that intrinsic thing that made Jeff Beck pick up a Stratocaster and sound like Jeff Beck. Because if I picked up his guitar, I bet you my life, it wouldn't sound like Jeff Beck anymore. It would sound like me. But when Jeff Beck picks up my guitar, he sounds like Jeff Beck. It's in the person. And as a DJ, I think we develop ourselves if we want to.
You know, John, what do you have to say about this?
It's all about coming into your own. So you get to the point of acceptance. Like with your Dizzy Gillespie story, you have to do it by the rules until you can break out of the box and know enough about what you're doing. You have to put the time in. And, you know, at that point, you can make the decisions as to what makes your craft sound better, whether you're a musician or a DJ, how you put things together. We could take 5 different songs each, but all mix them a different way with a different style. We are the chefs, you know, and the crowd is the, you know, the patrons of the restaurant, and you want to serve them your dish. You know, that's why we're, you know, this is a lot of individuality and personality in it. So there's no right or wrong way. It's the way that's best for you. And that's why we're all different. We're not just, you know, cookie cutouts of each other. You know, we're all blind differently.
Yeah.
I guess I would add that
DJs that have done the same gig every time for 20 years. And that's the big question.
Yeah.
You know, I've been a DJ for 20 years. Yeah, but have you done the same gig week after week, year after year? Or have you grown and developed? Have you found your voice? And it's not easy, but even little mixes we do that we get excited about, to me, that's when you develop as an artist and as a DJ, because you're like, I just stumbled on this. Isn't this cool? And that's what I love about watching what you guys put up. That Chicago track, you know, something in the streets or whatever. No clue. Never got on my radar. Never heard it before 2 weeks ago. That opened a whole new world to me. I'm like, whoa, what is this? I could do this with this. I could do this with that, because I'm willing to accept that I don't know everything.
I think that sample, by the way, I think that sample is also used by whoever did the original, was it 79th Street Brazil that Pitbull used? I think they used that sample there too.
Yeah, I think it's the same mark down the horns. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because that's an instrumental, and I don't remember the band, but the song is called 79th Street Brazil. And then Pitbull called a Gaiocho for his rap that he did over, but it's the same thing. It's like a very Black Eyed Peas kind of thing. But I think that's the same sample from Street Player.
Just amazing that Chicago worked its way into modern dance music that way. It's like a sneaky way to get in the back door. It's like, who's out the door?
Chicago's awesome. Chicago's awesome.
They don't belong in this club.
But, you know, Alex brings out, you know, Old Portishead. You could listen to that album and within 5 minutes find something in it that you could sample today that everyone's going to look at you like, what's this from?
Right.
Never heard of the Thievery Incorporated. Never heard of Portishead. Never heard of Early Moby. Never heard of 07 or Air, or, you know, enough so Saint Germain, where you could grab a little piece and look like you're cutting freaking edge.
Sure.
That's what makes your signature. Yeah.
Get 2 cents in here while you can, because I'm giving you the opportunity.
Well, I was going to say,
quickly, I'm sipping.
If you can't find it, I'm sure it's on Spotify, but it is also on Tidal as well. So, you know, if you subscribe to either of those streaming services, you can listen to it, and you know, I can't. It's very hard to explain. At the time, it was like so left field. It was, you know, it was different. You know, trip hop back in the early 90s wasn't a mainstream genre, but it brought it to the forefront. You know, and Beth, the lead singer's got this haunting voice. It's, you know, it could be you could play it as the soundtrack of Resident Evil. You know, it's one of those. It's like it's got a soft, delicate yet haunting voice, and the music that accompanies it just complements it. The two work hand in hand.
I was going to say that I think that what most of us are talking about tonight is music and mixing, but there's also a lot of other things involved with coming into your own. And one thing that I think is just paramount, especially for us mobile guys, is our MC skills.
Yeah, I agree.
I've stole from everyone, but I steal from sources that other people don't steal from. You know, like Jay pokes fun at me about the stand-up comedian thing, but oh my gosh. And then when I think about the stand-up comedians, I think about, watching a lot of these guys, they all kind of sound the same. They really do. You go to a club, they all kind of have the same cadence and the same delivery and all this. Then you get Sam Kinison. Nobody sounds like Sam Kinison.
No.
And then you get Richard Pryor. Nobody sounds like Richard Pryor. Right. Or you get George Carlin, or even Chris Rock, who we watched develop as an artist.
Oh, huge jumps from his specials. Huge jumps. Huge.
Yes. When he came out with Never Scared, it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Where did this come from?
You're Pookie. This is amazing.
Amazing what practice will get you, right?
But that's it. But that's the development of art.
Yeah.
And just the music wise, I think there's an openness to say, I can make this work. And there's that, anytime you think past, this is what I'm supposed to do, I think that's when art takes over. Art takes over when it's like, I'm going to try this Happy and Taylor Swift and Outkast and see what happens. And it works. And you're not doing it willy-nilly. You're doing it by everything about this tells me this will work.
Yeah.
And taking chances. Art is about taking a risk. It's
absolutely.
About taking a chance.
Absolutely.
It's about self-expression.
Letting go of the fear. Don't be afraid to try it.
And with the comedy thing, I know I bust your chops about it, but the reality is, if you want to be a great mobile DJ, you better make two choices. I'm not going to talk on a microphone, or I'm going to be prepared to snap back with a very quick one line that people are going to either laugh or get mad at. And if you take that chance, you know what? Because it's going to come up where somebody's going to do something and you've got a mic in your hand and it's your moment to shine. And it's happened to all of us.
Interestingly enough,
better be ready.
Interestingly enough, you're bringing up the comedy aspect of comedy, and that's not even what I'm listening for. I'm listening for cadence and pauses and delivery styles.
I've mastered all that. Brian. I'm there for the joke. I've mastered all that. There's no point in.
Yeah, kind of like beyond that, and how are they? Because I don't know. One comedian can tell the same joke and not get a response. Another comedian can deliver it another way and get a great response.
My MC skills. That's what's interesting. I'm fashioning myself after, let's say, a Stephen Wright. Someone with verboten personality that's out there that commands.
Monotone across the.
Thanks.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the wedding.
Yeah.
Good night. I used to wait on him, by the way, in Harvard Square.
An imitation of Brian imitating me now.
I would think true.
Hello.
Hey, it's Howie.
Hello.
Here's my road dog. Everyone
Mic check. Mic check.
You know why this mic works? This mic's only working because it's a 63-year-old microphone I bought when I was 18. Wait, what?
63? That's new.
Yeah, when I come on before the show starts and do that, it's because I use the mixer for other things during the week. And I just want to make sure that...
when I'm not here, my other career, I'll give you a hint. Here's the music. Bow, wow, 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 wow. I'm not saying what I do, but take it with a grain of salt. Try the clams, too. Stella's 70th anniversary working here tonight.
Well, when I got to admit, back to Brian's original question, I did do the ladies and gentlemen when I first started all the time. And then because I had to introduce bands, and then I stole from somebody, and I think it was at the Felt Forum, which is part of Madison Square Garden in New York, where they said, the moment you've all been waiting for. Here they are, Pyramid. And that was the name of the band. And then big applause instead of going, ladies and gentlemen. They weren't ladies and gentlemen. They were a bunch of hippies that were drinking and smoking pot, and wanted to hear a concert.
Who's got rolling papers?
I personally don't have a problem with ladies and gentlemen unless you use it more than once. What I have a problem with is at this time.
Oh, please.
So the combo of ladies and gentlemen at this time as a prefix to anything you say on the microphone at any given time throughout the evening, whether you should be talking or not. That's what I have an issue with.
Please.
Would you call that filler?
No.
The filler words?
Filler words, yeah, they're just purposeless words. Yeah, that's just...
Yeah.
And you are yes, I am losing hair when I'm sitting on an airplane listening to the safety speech. Because those are things they say repetitively.
I have to try to word out. Well, you haven't done a wedding till you've mastered, like me, other level, the word well. Because I got off ladies and gentlemen and I replaced it with, well, I'm going to be bringing out the wedding party. Well, time for the bridegroom's first dance. Well, it's cake cutting.
Repetitive speech patterns suck.
Are you ready, people? Let me make some noise.
I'm going to replace this with family and friends. Now you sound like every other jerk out there who's replaced it with family and friends.
Record yourself at your next wedding if you want to find out just how much you suck on the mic. It's a real wake up call.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real wake up call.
It really changed the way that YouTube videos changed the way that I even speak. Period. In everyday life, I don't speak the same as I did when I started YouTube videos because I was cringing watching my videos. I made some tweaks and then people pointed things out to me that I didn't even hear. Things I was saying repetitively. And
you spoke differently, Brian, though, to your credit. A lot of it was based on the fact that a lot of your first videos, you had a cigarette hanging out of your mouth. I think that may have. And if you think I'm kidding, go to Brian's channel and watch his famous cooking salmon and changing the drivers on JBL speakers in a snowy driveway.
You were smoking cigarettes. You were listening to Foster the People. You were doing all kinds of just uncool things that we here in Temecula, California, frown upon.
Terrible. No, but you got to admit they were a little guerrilla style back in the day. Like
they were supposed to be. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was genuinely being myself. That's how I am in real life, right? I have a cigarette hanging in my mouth doing stuff. I do.
You are.
That's true.
I
wasn't trying to put on this facade of a person. I was being genuine.
Persona. Now it's a fake persona.
No, it was Dean Martin impression.
No, this is the version of me with my grandkids, basically.
Yeah.
It's still me, but it's edited for television.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Did you say once before, like eventually you evolve into the person that you just were repressing? When we were coming up as DJs, we didn't talk a whole lot. We kind of shy. And then as you get older and you come into your own, then that's who you are. You're that on the mic. You're that engaging people. It's like, here you are. It just takes a while to get to that point where you've got the level of confidence and sound like you know what you're talking about.
I was just going to say, that is the greatest feeling is when you walk up to the mic and realize there's no fear. Because half the DJs I know who are successful are still scared every time they open their mouth.
It's interesting.
But they're scared.
Yeah, I actually have like 20 different comedians that actually imitate me on shows, and I still get up there without fear.
I know for a fact that who's that guy, Mel Brooks, who Howie went to school with. He's the big imitator of Howie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He picked on me in high school. Yeah.
Well,
the strange thing is I always find when I'm doing a local gig with people that live in my area, I'm more nervous on the mic than when I stand in front of 100, 200 people at a wedding that I've never met before. I do a wedding with a bunch of people I've never met before, I'm easy peasy, no problem. And then when I'm I know you, down the pub last week with you, blah, 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 and people that I know, it's like, okay. I get really nervous for some strange reason.
No, I get it. It's kind of like, I don't know. When I was younger, I was a really good dancer, and I would go out to clubs, and I did clubs all the time, and Then with Blanca, I was doing salsa merengue, all that stuff. I would be just completely mortified if I had to dance in front of my family now, because I just feel like my family is judgmental. They're probably not, but that's my perception of it. Where they're judging me, where strangers are just going to say, "Oh, okay, we don't know this guy and he's doing this. That's normal."
But actually, at your daughter's wedding, you really rocked it when you were.
I didn't rock it. I got by.
You did. You had that hat and everything on. That was cool.
What I was going to say to your point, John, was I can think back when I first started doing public speaking on the microphone, and I was trying to emulate a style, and I was almost up there as a cartoon character, or I was acting. I was playing a character who spoke on the mic.
Yeah.
And you learn things along the way and all this stuff. And really, when it came down to it, years and years later, I got really good on the microphone when I learned some skills along the way, but I started being myself. It wasn't an act. It was just me. This is me on the mic. That's when I feel like I did my best work. When I did the thing that I was avoiding doing in the beginning is when I did my best work.
But the best frontmen are the ones that are most comfortable, because you can tell they're 100% being them. David Lee Roth, Mick Jagger, Steven Tyler.
Yeah, but poor David's insane.
No, but like,
I don't want to be insane to be good.
I would love to see video of them in the very, very, very beginning. And I've seen the Stones where Mick is very kind of, stiff. He wasn't Mick yet. He was the singer of this band.
Right.
Well, who did we have? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, who did we have for?
You broke him. You freaking broke the guy.
I broke him when I went like this.
I think so. I thought it was my end, and I'm like,
poor John is broke.
We're at the time.
Tap on the screen or something.
You can't make this stuff up, folks.
I really wanted to hear what he had to say too.
I did too. I kept looking over at Brian. Brian's moving. I'm like, it's not my end.
No, my connection's unstable. Something. There must be a comet flying by overhead.
I'm dying to hear what you were going to say.
No, it's our voice coaches growing up. We had TV game show hosts. We had Gene Rayburn, Bob Barker. On the radio, we had Casey Kasem, Wolfman Jack, who you really can't emulate because you don't want to sound like
he's
this
one of a kind. Absolutely.
But I mean, that's, once you get the diction and then it's just a matter of piecing it in your head, not being nervous and just calming down, saying what you have to say and getting through the gig. And the more you do it, the more calming it becomes.
Yeah.
That you don't get sweaty hands and like, oh, Jesus, I got to talk now. Oh boy. Yeah, that's what I had. Sorry to cut you there, Jay.
No, not at all, John. Just the way you went.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see us.
Did I have a Matrix moment?
Right. You did. You were just suddenly frozen still, because right after Howie went like this to Brian, you went.
Now, don't try to put this on Howie. You broke John.
Crap!
Oh, you could have been me too.
I broke him.
Somebody broke him.
Howie's taking. Why's been white out on the screen? Yeah, that's what.
I'll take the hit.
That's all right. We're all good.
I want to wish John Young really good luck on giving the show a title.
Yeah, good luck, John.
Yeah.
And
if Ben still needs to know how to do sound, call Brian.
With that, we'll see you next week. Thanks.